It is the gutter. It is John Gibbons. Rob Gumman is off melting in New York. He's having fun in the sun in Manhattan. So you have got me, and we've got a new signing. I have got Mike Kearney, I've got Abigail Rudkin, and I have got Josh Sexton, and we've got Milos Kerkez news because, Josh, I sent an agenda this morning, and the point one was, where is Milos Kerkez? Here
he is now, mate.
Liverpool.
Here he is now.
And just about 10 minutes before he went, are you?
Yeah, he's actually appeared. To be fair, like we were talking before, and the Mike was like, it's not a great surprise, is it? Because Milos Kerkez himself has made it all not a great surprise. Like, I've loved how much Romano has been across his transfer. I always feel like Romano is he's like the agent's journalist, isn't he? And I get the feeling that maybe Milos Kerkez's dad has something to do with the fact that Fabrizio Romano has been very across this transfer. But I also like the fact that the club have sort of left it a couple of days after Romano said it was definitely going to be done to announce it. But it is exciting, isn't it? Like, one of the things I've loved about Liverpool's business so far this summer is the amount of quick lads they've signed, and that sort of sounds simplistic to say, really, but like, there was games I was watching last season, and obviously, don't get me wrong, Liverpool were brilliant, but there was some games and some moments in games where Liverpool could obviously improve on things, and one of those areas I always thought was pace. Like, Liverpool were a pretty slow team for the most part last season, besides Mo Salah. So the idea of bringing two fullbacks in who are absolutely lightning, Wirtz, who I think is going to be sort of almost like Harvey Elliott quick. Harvey Elliott's obviously flavour of the day because of his goals because of his goals for the under-21s last night. But that almost like, first yards in your head, beat a man just with your touch and acceleration. That's the sort of player that Wirtz feels like to me. So the idea of adding, Premier League proven, someone who's still, young and has loads of potential to improve as well, but with an absolute speed demon is something I'm very excited about.
Yeah, Kerkez, Mike, he's quicker than you when a posh sheet's going. Honestly, he's straight in there.
He must be rapid then. He must be rapid him.
It's great though, isn't it? It's exciting and it is nice. Like you say, a little bit of Uncle Arbor face. They have heavily trailed their own signing, but it's exciting all the same.
He's basically just been going around Liverpool, knocking on everyone's door, saying, "I'm going to play you. I'm going to play you next year."
I'm here in town if you need anything.
Just gonna, if you want to borrow some sugar, knock on. I live next door now. I'm a massive fan of him being that excited to play for Liverpool, and I'm a big fan of the business we're doing, the profile of the players, the age of the players. It's one of these things where we can get they're all signing 5-year deals, obviously, but in a world where we imagine being as good as we were last year, you can see them hopefully signing extensions in 2 or 3 years' time. Performance will dictate that as well. And it's this new crop. Like we get to do it as fans, don't we? Like we get to watch these generations come through and go. Like, and the Mane, Salah, Firmino front three, and you always think, what will be better than that? And then we sign, Wirtz, like nearly 8-9 years later, and you think, he looks like an exciting player. What can he be? And we get to watch all this, and It is the starting of, I think, that starting over again. Like we obviously got fantastic players still in the squad. Robertson's being linked with a move away, etc. Whether that's necessarily just because we've signed a left back and we now have 3, so one of them is going to go obviously. Who knows? But it's a really good blend, a really really exciting blend of youth, pace coming in, but of exceptional players, champions some may say, and. It is just a time to be. We're doing our business dead early again. It's all the hallmarks of the Liverpool we've come to know over the last 10 years of being back to what we were told in the 70s and 80s by uncles and granddads and dads alike. And it's just, I can't wait. I'm normally all right in June. Like I can't wait for the break, and then I'll start getting a bit itchy end of July. Can't wait for the footy to come back. But I actually wish we were watching them next week.
Yeah, it is so exciting, isn't it, Abby? Because he's another exciting addition to what was already a championship winning squad, like Mike says. And, it might not be quite have the wow factor as the Florian Wirtz signing, because, he was one of the top players in the world. But we've got to remember, Kerkez, he was the one they wanted for left back, and he was in the Premier League Team of the Year last season. And just whenever you watch him last year, because the links have been ongoing, he just looks as such an exciting player. And he's another example of getting their first choice, and it might be for 40 million, not 100 million, and it might be in the slightly less sexy position of left back rather than creative midfield. But it is a really exciting signing, and the more I watch of him, the more I like, because he's got it all. He's rapid, like we said, but those crosses that he can put in. You know, he's going to have Salah salivating, aren't he, at the back post. And I saw Bento, Hungarian expert, tweeting again the block he made against Man City last year, where he just sort of turns his body around and throws it in. And so he's got the great hunger for the defending as well, which is what you need. And he's still a young lad, but he looks to me like he's got everything you can need to succeed at a top club.
He was the one player that I wanted to see us sign first. I wanted the announcement of Kerkez first, maybe before even Frimpong, because with the whole Frimpong thing, I was thinking, well, we've got Conor Bradley there, listen, Trent's left, but the one position all season that people have been moaning about has been that left-back position. The one space where I've been thinking the only place where this team can really improve is probably 9 and left back, really. That's what I kept thinking, was like, we need to get Kerkez in through the door early, just so there's a little bit less of a panic around the left back position. Obviously there's talks of, does Tsimikas want to stay, does Tsimikas want to go, Robertson possibly going to Atletico, but it just felt as though to me that we had Kerkez wrapped up pretty early, but I don't know if we actually did, or did Kerkez just turn up with his bags,
I'm joining.
Yeah, he turned up with his dad, Richard Hughes' front door, and just went, yeah, where's the contract, where do I sign? I know you guys need me, I know you want me, and I'm probably the best in the league at the minute that's proven to come and play for you guys, and I'm 21 and I'm sound and I'm boss, by the way. So it felt a little bit like one of them to me, and you know, I don't know if all of us were starting to get flashbacks of Fekir Friday. The more it was going on, the more he was sitting in interviews and being like, yeah, me and my dad were moving there soon and I love it and I'm dead excited. And his brother was putting stuff on Instagram of little photos of him as a kid in front of Anfield, but it was AI, you know, all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is boss this. But, you know, announce it and now it's finally here. I'm like, thank God for that, because I can't take another one of those episodes, even though obviously Klopp's come out recently and said that the whole Fekir thing didn't go through because we wanted the money for Alisson, and it makes you go, right, sliding doors moment. But this signing of Kerkez just feels like, to me, it was the one that I wanted. Obviously Wirtz is dead exciting, and it's amazing that we're getting like such a brilliant player for those many millions that we're paying, but there's just something with the Kerkez signing that feels as though to me that is the one step that we needed to go again next season and be saying champions when we sit here again this time in 12 months.
It was mad, that Alisson story, wasn't it? I don't know whether Klopp's just got confused or whether he's just saying, like,
shit.
Because, like, if he was there and he was all in his kit and getting pictures, the idea of going, oh, nah, actually...
We had the full-on LFC TV screenshot, but was it real? You know, AI wasn't around back then. But,
There was lots of Fekir shows in the Anfield Wrap WordPress drafts, wasn't there, that never saw the light of day, which is a shame. Like, those drafts stayed for a long time after as well.
Just in case.
I remember the day I deleted them, I was like, it's quite sad, that, actually. Like, that was all just waiting.
Happening.
Yeah.
You've had better videos about Alisson Becker, I'm sure.
True, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Famously, we have one really good video of Alisson Becker.
The best video on the internet ever.
Was good. He's just another great addition, Josh, isn't he? And they're doing it early, and the speed that they're doing everything. You know, Abby said he wanted him to be announced first. You know, some summers this would have been the first announcements, because we're only, you know, a month after the end of the season. There's still plenty to go, but it's great because when they start the pre-season, which is, you know, a couple of weeks, I think, it's 2 weeks, Saturday or Sunday, they go to Preston and then on. Everyone's going to be there, and that's what the manager will want, really. You know, there's still some things to do, and we'll go on to talk about that, but you know, at the moment, right now, he's got a great group of players to start planning how he wants to play next season.
Yeah, they've done everything with real purpose so far, haven't they? And I think that's sort of almost the fairest thing you could say, because when there have been sort of voices of discontent in the past, when Liverpool have, you know, even when they've been at the strongest, you think about them winning the Champions League and not signing anybody that summer, and that did sort of, you know, breed some discontent then among some fans who did want to see signings, did want to see Liverpool strengthen from a position of strength. And I know there's been, you know, even voices on the Anfield Wrap, Kev Walsh, for example, who've definitely made those noises in the past about, you know, when you are on top is the best time to keep going and sort of, you know, almost have a foot on the throat mentality. And that's what Liverpool have done this summer. They've backed Arne Slot up in the market. I think Arne Slot probably was a little bit diplomatic last summer and throughout the season in a way that Jurgen Klopp had to be at times as well, or at least sort of backed himself to be able to be, because I think Arne Slot came in and was like, this is a brilliant squad, but I'm a brilliant manager as well, and I want to make sure that I earn my place here by doing what I can with this squad, taking a few players on to you know, new heights as well. When you look at Ryan Gravenberch and how well he played this season, and a couple of others you could easily throw into that, you look at the signings we've made so far already, and they're younger signings. So even though Wirtz is going to cost so much money, there is the idea that he can improve on top of what he's been at Leverkusen, and you see the things people have been saying about him at Leverkusen as well. It's so exciting, and there's almost similar things coming from Bournemouth. Maybe not with quite as much affection because Kerkez was only there for a shorter time, but the Bournemouth fans seem to really like him. I'm pretty sure he makes the Premier League team of the season, doesn't he? That sort of shows how good his performances were throughout the season, and he's 21 years old, as I mentioned before. So there is that idea that Slot can, really help him improve. For me, I think he's in the best place in the world to improve. Liverpool has got such a track record for improving players now, and Arne Slot has proven himself that he is able to do that and likes the time to do that and stuff. So it's good that the manager has been backed as much as he has this summer, because he deserves to have been backed by winning the league in his first season. And hopefully that idea of strengthening from position of strength is one that's proven to be right this summer, because I think we didn't sign anyone after winning the Champions League, but then we went on and won the league, so it didn't matter. And you could argue that not signing anybody actually helped the squad at that time sort of almost become a closer unit. But hopefully a few of Arne Slot's players, where he doesn't have to be quite as diplomatic, even though I know he starts off not very much so by calling out Jarell Kwanzaa after the Ipswich game on the first game of the season. But I think a lot of times there were players there that weren't getting big minutes, and he wasn't exactly writing them off, but it was pretty clear over the course of the season they weren't Arne Slot players. Well, he's got a couple of Arne Slot players now, a brand new one in the door today, and hard not to be excited by that, and excited to see the gaffer with his own players.
And that's the thing, isn't it, Mike? He's able to look at it from a point of view, the manager of, well, I've had all the success with Jurgen's squad, and that's testament to obviously the squad that Jurgen left them, and the quality of the players that they were there, and their attitude as well to adapt to slightly new methods. But for him, he'd have been looking at it last season thinking, I wish I had a bit more of this, or I wish I had this type of player, and he's adding them one by one now. So that's not to say that other clubs won't kick on next season, because obviously the likes of Arsenal and Man City will be trying to improve as well. But I don't think it's hard to see how Liverpool, make even the biggest jump of all of them, and they've got some catching to do, because the quality of the players that we're adding, but also the fact that the manager has had a whole year to assess what he needs to take us to a real elite club, so everyone, even the bitterest, will have to admit we're the best team in the country. You can see how he's putting that together.
We've been on the other side of what we're doing now a load, haven't we? You know what I mean? Like
fucking hell, they've signed him.
He's gone there and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, for years as a kid growing up United. And then even later seasons, United, Van Persie just goes and wins the league for them, essentially. And you talk about the merits of them doing that, and Ferguson maybe not leaving them in a great shape, but he literally still went and bought a player that won them the league. And we've just won the league, and we've gone and bought, Florian Wirtz, who's supremely talented. Some of the goals you see him score, he's dribbling through players left, right and centre. He's setting goals up all over the place, and he's been shown, by the way, Slot has got obviously an idea, because all the talk in the press was how Slot's pitch basically really impressed them. The training, everything's about Liverpool Football Club is impressing these players, and they want to come in and be a part of it. And if they're excited to do so, then God, we're going to be half excited, or double, whatever. Put any number you want on it. The excitement levels in that ground next year, wherever you're watching the match, we've seen glimpses of how good we can be. And at times last year, I felt we were winning games in second and third gear. I remember literally watching us beat Man City and Real Madrid 2-0 in the same week, and walking out the ground thinking that just looked easy. That was mad. And this is a new level of stepping up again. Now we've got these players and different tools. Slot was really, really, effusive with praise for PSG, and I think they were the best team that we did play last year. Obviously, they went on and done what they done in the Champions League. They won their league, as they pretty much normally always do. But I think they won the cup as well, I think, didn't he? I think they did a treble in France.
Probably.
Yeah.
But they were great, and I think what we see in City away sort of echoes a bit with what PSG did. The signings maybe hint at, you want flying fullbacks again, and a lad that'll carry the ball through midfield a bit differently, playing number 10, can play false 9, whatever. He just wants all the tools to play all the ways, because we've played all the ways. I mentioned City away, everyone will say, oh, you only 30% possession, but we were never in like pedal at all. We always looked dangerous when we had the ball, and it was this new formation. We've seen it earlier in the season again, Brighton away, where it was just a mad team. But I think he ended up doing the same sort of Jones and Szoboszlai as like 2 false 9s or even advanced 10s, but I don't know what you'd call it. Get one of the nerds on that, they'll tell you. But like it is just the ability to have this squad now where he can say, right, we've lost Salah for a month to AFCON, have we? Sam, we might even throw Frimpong on the right, or I'll tell you what, we'll play Wirtz and somebody else is like false 9s or mad 10s or whatever you want to call
Mad
them.
10s.
Mad 10s is
like
the
Mad
new
10s.
show.
Pair of Mad 10s.
But he's got all the tools in his shed now, and who knows, he may even go and add a couple more.
Yeah. Abby, you know, when we sign someone, do you think like, oh, he looks hard to paint?
That was my exact thought process this morning when I've seen all of the Kerkez stuff.
Does look
coming
hard
out.
to paint, doesn't he? That's it.
He is,
I
he's very
just looking at
difficult.
pictures of him thinking
Very like distinctive.
Honest
features.
Lot was exactly the same when you were shifting from Jürgen, who obviously has like those teeth,
Yeah.
and I mean, obviously he got rid of the glasses, but those characteristics that you can sort of pick on. Kerkez is going to be a difficult one, but I have a rule: you have to win a trophy at Liverpool before I paint you now.
Is
That's
that
why the
right?
slot one didn't come out until.
It's like the This
we
Is
won the
Anfield sign,
league.
you can't touch it unless you win a
that's my
trophy.
version of the
You
This
only
Is
have to wait till
Anfield
March,
sign.
then it'll be sound.
Well, I've said community charity shield, whatever, doesn't count, because I said it on
Yeah.
TikTok the other day and people were like, oh well, you know, be very soon then we'll win the charity shield. That does not count. No matter how much Man United fans tell you it counts, it doesn't count. But
the Kerkez gets a hat-trick in the Charity Shield. And I was like, nah,
not a
shit.
chance. He's not proven himself here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm very excited that I do feel as though that I'm going to be able to paint him and Wirtz and stuff by the end of next season. I do feel as though that we're creating a new little dynasty here, to be honest. Like, when you look at the way Klopp ran things and the way we had with FSG, Klopp was the perfect manager for them in the way you spend. And listen, Klopp liked to be the underdog. He liked to have the whole underdog vibe to everything, and I liked being that way for a very long time, and I loved feeling as though we were never the ones that were on top, and, you know, we were coming up against the likes of Man City. But now there's been this huge shift in things where Richard Hughes has come in, and apparently he's absolutely quite of a strong guy. I'll say a strong guy. He's quite harsh, apparently emotionless, and he will just cut you off and cut you out if he thinks that you're not good enough. So then he's went and employed a manager in Arne Slot, who, like Josh has just said, absolutely told Quansah off in the middle of a press conference and took him off at half time in the first game of the season. And it just feels as though there's that new mix of things where it feels as though, no, we're not the underdog anymore. We are the ones that are going to be on top, and we're the ones that you do look back on. Like Mike's just said, you know, you think of like the days of Man City and being like, oh, they've just signed him. We are them now, and it feels as though Richard Hughes and Arne Slot have come together and gone, we're not messing around here, guys. We were bedding in, trying to get contracts for the likes of Salah, Virgil, and yeah, obviously they tried for Trent. We had to get a new manager in. Richard Hughes may look like he was messing about last season when he just brought in Chiesa and signed Mamadashvili, you know, and then loaned him back. But there's no messing about now. He's just signed one of the best midfielders in the entire world by the looks of it. You know, you go and get a brand new left back, and listen, Andy Robertson started to pick up a little bit more at the end of the season, but his age, the majority of the season, Andy Robertson was not good enough to start for Liverpool. And Tsimikas, I feel like he's at a certain level where, yeah, he's a good player, but you're not going to get better out of him. Does that make sense? It feels as though he's a good player, like a good fringe player for the Premier League, but it doesn't feel as though he's not going to pick up a fight with Kerkez to try and fight for that shirt. I don't know if any of you saw that interview that Tsimikas did recently, where he basically said he's happy to only get 20-odd games a season and stuff like that. Did you not see it? Tsimikas come out and basically said he's happy to be a contributing player to Liverpool, but it sounded as though, from what I seen, that he wasn't exactly trying to say he was going to fight for the shirt. It felt more to me as if he was saying, yeah, I know this lad Kerkez is coming in and he's really good, but, you know, if Robertson doesn't want to do it, I'll be the one who sits on the bench and I'll be the one who fills in when needed.
It is all right, though, isn't it?
But
Do you know what I
that's
mean?
fine,
Play a
and-
bit for Liverpool and be best mates with Mo Salah.
The line
Exactly.
out for that interview was, I'd rather play.
Enough about Mike.
I think the angle he was going at is, I'd rather play 20-odd games for Liverpool than 40-odd games for someone else where I just won't enjoy it as much.
But
Is
I've
what
seen-
I took it
The
as.
sound boss.
Some people have been getting a little bit angry. I did another show on a different thing, and people were getting very, very angry about the fact that that's not the mentality you want at your club. But
we're all chill here, Abby. Just hang out here. It's just good vibes at Skirting Mike.
Good vibes, but I'll take that hands down. I'd rather have a player that would rather contribute, walk out there with a Premier League medal, maybe a Champions League one next season, because they've contributed but they've not expected to start every single game. I don't know. It's a mentality thing, but all we do know is Kerkez is going to start that first game of the season, I think. And I don't know if Andy Robertson's still going to be there, but if it was up to me, no matter what Simicast says, I'd rather have Andy Robertson there, sort of nurturing him and teaching him the ways than Simicast. But, you know, we can't have everything.
We can't.
Or can we? Feels like we can.
I'd like to think so.
Should we do that in part 2?
Yeah, do everything.
Part 2's coming up, entitled Can We Have Everything? It's also the agenda that I wrote for this show before it was Kearney Thursday, but we are here, we are enjoying ourselves very much. We're going to have a quick break and then I'm going to do the actual agenda. Okay, we are back in the room. It is still John Gibbons, it is still Mike Kearney, Abigail Rudkin and Josh Sexton. And with that interlude in terms of Kerkez, who has been announced, on with the show. And to introduce our partner, which is Saily for this run. And Saily are an eSIM that is fantastically easy to use, to install and save you a huge amount of money when you're travelling. I have got a couple more testimonials who did have come through, because obviously I did one last week and a couple of other people have messaged in different places. So first of all, this one starts brilliantly. John Gibbons is right, which should be the start of every testimonial, I feel.
It's like I always say.
I was like, I am right. Why? So Steve Nolan says, John Gibbons is right. Saily is the business. I've been stuck in Europe over the past month because of a vehicle failure. Free network data went in an expensive, useless flash. But Saily data in each territory I was in used it in exactly the same way as free. I've got loads of credit capitals left I'll never get to use. It's genuinely brilliant. So there you are as well. And another one from a friend and listener, Callie Russell, who is, if people know Callie, an international businessman, I would describe him as. And he says, just adding to your Saily tour testimonials, you used it the other week in India. I told you it was international. India?
It's far away, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Seamless, and cost me £8 for the week instead of my normal £50. Great sponsors, sir. So there we are.
Do you want my testimonial?
Yeah.
So I got Saily for free because they're a NordVPN partner, aren't they, as well? So like through my NordVPN subscription, I got Saily last time I was in the States, and yeah, it was good. So there's mine. Add that to it.
So would you endorse?
John Gibbons is right. Well, that's John Gibbons. Full stop is right. Full stop.
So there we are. So it is fantastically easy to use. I'm really looking forward to we're going over to Japan and Hong Kong, and I'm already looking forward to using it. But I've had a little play on the app. So it's you just get a choice of over 200 countries, and it gives you all the destinations, all the top picks. And so you pick where you're going. It does feel a bit like you're going on holiday, just playing with it here. I think I'll go to Bermuda. Why not? And so you tick on Bermuda, and you can pick how long you're going for. And it is really, really good value, and it will save you a fortune. We've all had one of those trips where you get back and your phone bill comes about 2 weeks later when you're already feeling depressed because you're never further away from a holiday, and then suddenly you get that. So this is going to avoid any nasty surprises. You know exactly what you're paying, and you get apparently more data than you even know what to do with, according to Steve. So there we are. And also you get a discount. Yeah, I do need to mention that. So when you go, so you pick your choice. So I'm picking I'm going to Bermuda for 30 days. I've decided 5 gigabytes, and you click that, and then it says got a coupon ? And you can say yes, and you can insert the letters TAW, and you get 15% off their already incredible fees. It just start to use it as soon as you land, and there is 24-hour service available for you if you want to chat to someone if you're not sure as well. But it sounds like everyone's just cracking on and doesn't even need that. So there we are. Nice one to Saily, partner with us over the summer. Do really appreciate it, and let me know if you think I'm right and Saily's working for you. Should we talk about Darwin Nunez? Who wants to start on Darwin Nunez? I'll start with you, Abby. Napoli seems to be the favourite place at the moment. There's a little bit of chat about how much they're willing to pay. Apparently there was a £70 million bid in January that Liverpool would like to happen again, but you sense that the Napoli would want it a little bit lower. So there's some quotes here from Football Italia. Liverpool originally demanded €60 million for Nunez, but Napoli are set to land them for $50 million, which is about £43 million. Do you see him going for that? Because Liverpool don't tend to sell players on the cheap, but everyone does seem to have decided with Darwin that it's better off for him to go elsewhere, and we literally won't play him, start him again, it seems. So do you think he would end up sort of going for about that if it suits everyone?
It's a difficult one because our owners, like you've just said, they're not usually the type that'll sort of cut their losses on a player and just say, right, this didn't work out, let's move on and let's just take nearly, I mean, what was it in the end with add-ons? We don't exactly know what we ended up paying for him, but...
About 75 million a total, yeah.
It's a difficult one to sort of swallow for them to say, right, we give this a go for a couple of years and it just didn't work out, no matter how hard they tried with him. And, you know, we all backed him for as long as we possibly could, but you've got to let him go. And do you know what? He feels like the type of player to me that it didn't work at Liverpool. He didn't feel happy here, you know, no matter what. Sometimes you just lose your enthusiasm at a place, and it just felt to me as though there was just no return for him at Liverpool, but he could do it somewhere else. It's so weird because I've been watching, like, not that I sit there watching like Arsenal fan TV and Man United fan channels and stuff like that, but I have seen the odd one, and all of a sudden the likes of Arsenal fans and Man United fans and that are all of a sudden talking about how, you know, Darwin Nunez actually isn't that bad. Has anyone else noticed that? A lot of them have decided now they're all in the market for a striker, and they've realised how hard it is to actually go and buy a decent one that's available, which we're trying to do as well. All of a sudden they're going, well, it didn't work out for Liverpool for Darwin Nunez there, but he's actually a decent player. And as a Liverpool fan, we're obviously not going to feel that way, but I just feel as though if he goes somewhere else, if he gets into the rhythm of things, that ducks off his back and all that sort of stuff that he experienced with Liverpool where it didn't work out and he was getting criticised, and, you know, obviously the fee that he cost us has just been over his head for a really long time. Maybe if he goes somewhere where he costs less, he's shaved his head, shaved all his hair off. Apparently that's a good omen for Darwin Nunez.
He looks like one of Beckham's sons now, I think.
He does.
I can't think which one it is, but there's one of
Maybe
them.
just a
He looks like
combination of them all.
Yeah, it feels as though now he's done that, he's ready for a fresh start. And even in his comment section on his Instagram, Fabrizio Romano commented on Nunez commented back. So it feels as though to me that there's definitely a mood going around there in the whole Nunez situation that he thinks he's going. And I would take 40. Was it 43 million?
43, a cool 40, plus add-ons.
It's annoying though, because if you're getting like 30 plus add-ons for Quanta, you're thinking Darwin Nunez was meant to be like the next big thing for us, and it just hasn't worked out, and you're sort of only getting 10 million more for Darwin Nunez. It feels like a little bit of a sickener, but at the end of the day, it's not our money, and he needs to move on. That's
the thing, Mike, is like Abby says in the past, you know, they have held out for what they want, and they've said, you know, if we don't get it, we're not paying. And you just see that with someone like Nat Phillips, who's finally moved on this summer, but had a couple of years almost in the wilderness because Liverpool couldn't get what they felt was right for them at the time. But you just can't see that with Darwin. You know, it's one thing doing it with someone like Nat Phillips, you know, who won't kick up too much of a fuss and isn't on, you know, mega wages. But with someone like Darwin, who's on the big money, it'll generally be a thing for the longer he doesn't start and all of that. The manager clearly doesn't fancy him enough to start him in these big games. You know, there's obviously this extra payment to his former club that, you know, they don't look like they want to pay, and so you feel like that they're going to have to sort of compromise in theory, unless it turns into a bit of a bidding war and Saudi come in hot and heavy. But if it's looking like Napoli and that's where he wants to go, I think they're probably just going to have to, for once maybe, or on a rare occasion, you know, accept maybe a little bit less than what they could have got in January.
Yeah, and look, had he been sold in January, he probably doesn't score the goals at Brentford. Yeah. So I mean, there is always that cherry to take, isn't there? Like we've won the league, and he has contributed to it as much as he's been slammed for his time here. You know, he's a mad footballer because he seems to get lots of chances, and at some point you think, oh, that'll flip the other way, and maybe it did when we signed him, and then he's contributed to Liverpool essentially. I won't have any of this like, oh, he's the worst signing ever. When I watched El Hadji Diouf play for years, I've seen worse footballers put a shirt on for Liverpool and do worse things and not contribute to any trophies.
Josh has played at Anfield twice.
A lovely bit of business.
me and Mike handshake emoji.
So look, ideally, like around Christmas time, I was starting to think, well, I wonder where he goes. Where does a Darwin Nunez team suit? I thought Let's Go would have entered the picture because the manager's a bit mad. They're a bit mad. They love doing loads of running and scoring goals, and maybe Nunez likes doing one or more than the other. But who knows? In a team where he just finds a new lease of life, he might get back to that goal scoring form that we've seen and we're so keen to sign him for. Napoli also feels quite suitable. It's a very passionate city about football. You've just seen the title celebrations they had. Insane, and it feels like his sort of hot-headed natureness would fit in there. I don't know. I don't view his time as a complete failure. It's not being a raging success, has it? But he's walking away with the Premier League winners' medal, and I guarantee you, every single one of any Liverpool fan you'll ever meet would want to be in that situation. So fair play to him. Off you go. Football's like that. Signings don't work out all the time. And when we're so successful at making them work out as it seems, it can be disappointing, can't it? But the long list of players that have played for this club, there's definitely been worse. There definitely will be worse in future. It's just the nature of the beast. It is what it is. I think Slot gave him a chance, gave him enough chances again this season to turn it round, and I think he lost patience with him, didn't he? Because I think he said a couple of times, it was the Villa one, wasn't it, where he there's all sorts of arguments about Szoboszlai should have probably shot anyway, passed it to him anyway, and then it was an open goal and it got missed, and then it was just I think the hiding, Slot wasn't asked about the miss. He was like, well, you sort of hid after that, and his confidence was dented and this, that and the other. I think that's what mainly probably disappointed him, and that was where the line was probably drawn for him at that point then, was, he's a very good footballer, obviously, but I think he would have thought, I think we want to try something new next season. Best for us, best for him. And I'm not against the lad. He's had some mad moments in a Liverpool shirt. Like, imagine being the one to score that header away at Forest with the last kick of the game in the 99th minute. And then he'd done that twice the season before at Newcastle, 90-minute plus winners, the Brentford one. He might not be happy all his time here, but he'll definitely have memories to hold on to and a medal as well.
He's too good for Saudi Arabia. He's too good to move to that league. At the age he is, he's too good. He's got too much life in him yet. And I'm not saying the Saudi league's like this big terrible thing, but it does feel as though a little bit of a place where you go to retire, which that's not a rumour, that's the truth. And he's too good for that. And like we've seen it where like Duran went and stuff like that, and it just felt like a little bit of a disappointment. I'd be disappointed to see him playing in Saudi Arabia if we he'd have to accept it obviously, but I think I'd rather, I don't know if I've just grown a heart all of a sudden, but I think I'd rather we took less money and, send him to Napoli and not send him to Saudi Arabia for 70 million, although he might thrive over there. You never know. But it feels too soon for Darwin Nunez to make that type of move.
I think there's some players who are sort of relishing that challenge and moving to Saudi because it's probably a little bit like easier, like life is just a little bit easier. It's obviously like, even stupid stuff like tax-free to consider, like that's maybe where there's some players' heads are turned towards it. But you see him more and more often, like Kevin De Bruyne had it this summer as well, didn't he, where they're saying they want to stay in Europe. Thiago was the same. Thiago literally retired rather than going to be part of a retirement football project. He's gone to be basically a professional paddle player by the looks of it now, so he's having a lovely time too. And yeah, I echo a load of things that Abby and Mike have said about Darwin there. I think that the difference in the Quans thing that Abby referenced before is that Quans, it still seems, has massive potential, doesn't it? Like, I think Quans is that sort of footballer with his physical attributes. I'd even argue with some of his technical attributes when he's on the ball. It's something that he's spoken about, almost modelling his game off Joel Matip and how Joel used to bring the ball out from the back and into midfield. It's something that Quans has been consciously looking to do and has been really successful when he's been doing it for the under-21s this summer. But I just think that, he's not going to necessarily realise his potential at Liverpool, especially not when Konate and Van Dijk are ahead of him. It remains to be seen what happens with Konate's future, but there's a gap between where him and Konate are, and whoever Arne Slot and Liverpool decide to sign next has to be closer to that Konate level than it does to where Jarell Quansah currently sits. So I think that's a good move for him, and Liverpool got good money for him with Darwin. Like, he's just turned 26. He's coming into his peak years now, and I think you've seen Liverpool in the last few years that, like, because I've definitely been invested in that idea of Darwin's potential. Like Mike references the chances that he misses before. I would make the argument similar to what I used to make a lot with Raheem Sterling when he was playing for England, because that was another heavily criticised forward Raheem Sterling, who missed plenty of chances when he was playing for England. But I always used to say to people to almost stick up for him a bit. It's him who's getting in those positions. There's no one else who, if you put them in the team, is necessarily getting in those positions. And I do kind of still feel that about Darwin. Like, Darwin is good at getting into goal scoring positions. His finishing has just been left wanting so much. And I think it's got to the point now where it was almost like, if he can get this, like, a couple of goals, or he gets this big confidence boost in one, he can go on and run after that. And I think he's proven that actually that's not the case, because Mike referenced what Slot said about him last season after the Aston Villa game. I just don't think he has that mental resilience. I think he's not a particularly intelligent footballer and not particularly mentally resilient, and that's a really bad combination of two things for a footballer playing at a club like Liverpool to have, because the expectations are so great on you. You're going to be expected that if you are getting in goal scoring positions more often than not to be finishing those chances, and you may even get less slack if you're not getting into those goal scoring positions. I imagine that would eventually catch up with you, and it definitely has done whenever there's been those games where, as Mike said before, where Darwin sort of hit a bit more and been more conspicuous in his absence. So I'm probably where I maybe disagree with Abby a little bit is that I don't necessarily care where he goes. Like, if he was willing to accept to move to Saudi and it got Liverpool more money, ultimately I want Liverpool to have more money. I don't necessarily care about what the footballer does next. I even have a thing of where I just unfollow players who don't play for Liverpool on Instagram anymore. Took great pleasure in doing that for the lad who's just gone to Real Madrid. So I wish him all the best in wherever he goes next. I hope he does sort of find that home, and if it is Napoli, then I think that'll be brilliant, because that's a good combination of madcap bastards joining up with each other.
Do you feel like that about Harvey though? Because Harvey's one of those ones where I'm like, no, with Elliott, I want to see him do well, and if he could get a move at a reasonable price, I'm not asking for loads of money. I think he's probably worth like maybe even 50 million now after obviously that performance last night. But do you feel as though you're not bothered? Just give me the money.
I mean, if Saudi offered us double for Harvey Elliott, I'd be talking him into it if he was in the room right now.
Nice,
tax free, hot as well.
Fair enough.
Big gated community for you, it'd be lovely.
Yeah, and plus we might need all this money for Isak as much as possible.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on that, Abigail? I saw your friend of mine, Lewis Steele, put it a 30% chance of him coming. I thought, fucking hell, that's high.
That's high. That's a lot higher than I thought, especially when...
Feels dumb and dumber, doesn't it? So you say there's a chance.
That's a lot higher than I was expecting, considering at the start of the window they were like, there's no chance of any move. He's not going anywhere. We're not letting him go. And now all of a sudden it's like... There's those little things, like what we did with Diaz, where it was sort of like, there's no way he's going, but it'd take a lot of money. It feels like with Isak, it's a bit like, there's no way he's going, but, it takes somewhere near 200 million, and it's as if there's like a tiny thing of, not make us the right offer, because you don't want to let go of such an amazing player, but, there's a certain ceiling at Newcastle at the minute. No matter what, no matter if they've got all this money, they can't spend all of it because of PSR. Do you know what I mean? And there's also the whole thing of, yes, they've got Champions League football and all that, and that's probably a selling point to them. But if we can sort of get, this sounds horrible, but if we can sort of get the player to want the move and push for the move, he could possibly win the Champions League next season with Liverpool. Never mind just being a part of it with Newcastle. I don't know, he's probably got friends there and he's comfortable and there's all that stuff, but when the Premier League champions who look like they've made something really good going on at the minute with a really good, intelligent manager who want to be, we want to be the Colossus finally. When a team like that comes along and knocks on the door and's like, right, we'll probably give you, I don't know, in terms of money, all of a sudden there's articles coming out saying Newcastle are willing to make him the highest paid, but I still feel as though we could probably pay him the same. Maybe even if we paid him less, I still feel like the opportunity of winning the Premier League with Liverpool and having a really, really good run in the Champions League with Liverpool is a much better prospect for him as a player. But there's obviously the whole thing if he does get injuries and stuff like that, but I just feel as though if the opportunity arises to sign Alexander Isak, you have to go and do that. And 30% sounds like dreamland to me, because I had it at like 1% at the start of the season.
Yeah, you might just put on the spot. You might want to reevaluate Lewis if he's sort of listening to this. I'm sure he does, loves the gutter, but and hates Gutman, so it's a perfect day for him. But that's not true. No one hates Rob Gutman. Absolutely no one. Impossible. But the story coming out in the Times this week about the contract situation that mentioned Liverpool a lot, Mike, was just sort of quite interesting, really, and it just shows that you might feel like the hand is being forced at some point, and that might not necessarily be this summer. It might be sort of next, but he'll know his value. He'll know what he can earn sort of elsewhere, and what is possible for a player of his level to do. And if Liverpool are doing a lot of work on it, then brilliant. And it might be one where we have to be a little bit patient, but you just sense from all Liverpool's dealings, and we've touched on it in this show, that they want the real elite player in each position, and we've seen, he pretty much is that at the moment. So if they're working hard to get him, brilliant, because they're the kind of players who should be up front for Liverpool.
Yeah, I've got a real feeling that I've just got this weird feling it's higher than 30%.
Oh, higher than 30. I feel like Barrymore here. Higher than 30.
I don't know what it is. I'm sort of like, do you remember when Brendan Rodgers said that Raheem Sterling was a £100 million player right in the middle of his contract negotiations? It's got that sort of vibe to it. Like, Sam will pay me like that then?
Yeah.
So, if Isak, if they're saying, well, Isak's our best player, we're going to pay him X, Y, and Z, and they're only allowed to pay him, say, 200 grand a week, and say he probably is already on about 150, 160, he's going to go, you reckon I'm this good, £200 million player? You that's out in the press for some reason. Pay me like that. And then, like, they're snookered because they can't. Because they can't go and drop 300 grand a week on him, which is essentially what they're saying if they rate him that highly. I think it's like, no, like Abby mentioned, we're not going to sell Diaz, but if you want to give us 90 million for him, then, you know what I mean? I think Newcastle have got that little bit of vibe about them, because then they can go and get maybe 2 or 3 players for their forward line on smaller wages than what Isak's on now, but higher upscale, possibly. I think, did I see something about, I think Dave Powell was saying that we can potentially spend another £200 million this
Everyone's
summer.
saying we can do it, yeah.
So there's everyone's saying we can do it. Newcastle are saying, no, we don't really want to sell him, but can we offer him the deal that he wants? And they're like, essentially all moves in football happen when the football club don't want to sell you, but then like the whole Torres thing happened, and from his angle, he said like, I felt like Liverpool wanted the money more than they wanted me. Which, who knows? The only people who really know what happened there is the people involved. But at some point, someone's got to be a villain in amongst it. Like, I want the move. Like, the club will say, he wanted the move. And the player will say, they didn't want me. They said that was the £200 million player, but they were only offering me the same wages as when they first bought me. And there's the conversations going on behind the scenes. You'll never, ever get to know the real truth of it. But I think it's somewhere in the middle that there is a deal to be done. I think Liverpool really want him, and I think he wants to really move to a club that wants to be at the top table forever. And who's to say Newcastle won't be? But are they currently at the minute when they're saying that they think he's worth 200 million? I think there's a long road in this transfer window to go. And I think there's wiggle room to happen. And look, he may end up signing a new deal because somebody may go and buy a Newcastle player, which frees some PSR up, and they can just throw the dough at him, and then he signs and he lives happily ever after, whatever. But I don't know. I just get a vibe that this is not just a nothing story. I can see him in that Liverpool team.
I think he should just come.
Doesn't it feel like this could be their Coutinho moment?
They use all this money to invest it, and they come out of it stronger.
We didn't want Coutinho to go no matter what. Get 136 million or whatever we got for him, go and invest that in Van Dijk, Alisson and players like that. This could be their moment to be like, right, we don't want to let go of this absolutely world-class player, but the way in which you can rebuild with that money could be massive for Newcastle going forward. I know I'm trying to blag them a bit here to be like, just give him.
You'll buy Alisson, it'll be amazing.
You get an Alisson and a Van Dijk for that, Yeah, it's got that little thing around it, hasn't it?
Yeah, you should just come, Josh. It's great, isn't it?
I think you should just come, and it is great. So, like, I don't know more of a sales pitch than John Gibbons is, right? Have you heard about John Gibbons, Alexander? I'm probably not persuaded as much as Mike is that the percentage is more than I was genuinely surprised here it's 30% because I think like Newcastle have got the ultimate say in this really, and I think like you're probably seeing in more recent times that we're a little bit over the era of player power, in the sense that players, I don't feel like, are as good at forcing moves from clubs who have strong hands at the moment. What players have shown they are good at really instead is just run down their contracts, which obviously Newcastle won't want, but I believe he's signed up for many more years. So I'd be very surprised if it led to a situation where Alexander Isak is leaving Newcastle for free after those many years. But I could see a world in which Newcastle keep their sort of, dig their heels in this summer, and manage to keep him for another season. It would be dead exciting, wouldn't it? I think like the more realistic thing for me, and I've said this on a couple of shows so far this summer, is Osimhen, because like all the talk is that he wants out of Napoli. He's in a bit of a sticky situation there at Napoli. There's obviously the Darwin Nunez stuff going on around them now. Chiesa has been linked to them too, so that to me would feel like the more likely one, the one where you get a little bit more opportunistic. Like ultimately, Isak in Newcastle's eyes is not for sale. So I'm struggling to see a world in which Liverpool can just rock up there and be like, we're going to pay all this money for this footballer when we've just paid all this money for another fella, when we're traditionally not a huge spending club. So listen, I hope Mike Kearney and Lewis Steele are right. I know John Gibbons is right. So if you say it, John, I'll go to battle with you. But I wouldn't say I'm more than 30% at the moment.
Okay, we're going to have a little bit of a break, and then we're going to talk about Harvey Elliott. And it is part 3 of The Gutter, brought to you in association with Saily. And I have still got Mike, Abby and Josh. And we're going to talk, a little bit about Harvey Elliott and his performances last night, and whether that might have changed any minds, or generally linking it to the players coming in and out as well, because it is an interesting situation. But before all that, there's some quotes from Kerkez, so I'll read a couple out just in case people haven't seen them. He says, "I'm really happy," which is nice. "It's a real honour for me, a privilege to come here to play for one of the biggest clubs in the world and the biggest club in England. I'm just really, really happy and excited." And then there's a little bit more, and then at the end he says, "I'm going to give everything, absolutely everything, to win trophies with the club and hopefully score some goals at Anfield. I can't wait to hear the roar and see you soon." I like that. I can't wait to hear the roar. I can't wait to roar. So I'm really looking forward to all of that. But yeah, as you can imagine, a very happy boy to be at Liverpool, as he should be. But will he be playing with Harvey Elliott, Mike? And that's the interesting question. And there were some quotes that came out earlier in the summer, just before this under-21 tournament started, which suggested that he was thinking about elsewhere. But I just wonder whether circumstances, much as everything, might sort of change it. He was fantastic last night for the under-21s. He scores 2 goals. They beat Holland, so I'm sure Arne Slot was watching. But he's the best player on the pitch, and I think it's a reminder of his age, really. And listen, he's being judged to Liverpool Football Club standards, and that's how it should be. But he is still a young lad, and he's, head and shoulders, if not quite in stature, but in terms of talent, above of most of the players in the world at his age. And players who get big goals as well, I think, are tough to find. And if you've got one, I think it's you should think twice about letting them go. That second one in particular, late in the game, where they'd thrown away a lead, and just the quality of not just the strike, but his run as well. And it's a reminder just how good he is. And Josh talked a little bit there about Osimhen and being a replacement for Isak. Not necessarily a replacement for Isak, but a one you go for if you can't get him. I wonder whether with Liverpool, if they can't get someone like Isak or an Alvarez or the real top tier, they might just say, let's go with what we've got for the year. We've got players who can play the 9. We've got this idea of doing 2 mad 10s, as you sort of described it before. There's Salah going away for AFCON for a month or so as well. I just wonder whether it starts to open up for Harvey Elliott in a little bit more than what he thought, because he must have finished last season and thought, I hardly played, and then now they're getting this Florian Wirtz fella in, which I get. But then if we change it how we play a little bit, if a couple of players move on, if we don't go out and get that number 9, but Darwin's not there, and with the Salah situation, he might find he ends up getting a few more games than he thinks, and also it might suit Liverpool a bit just to keep him around a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'm massively torn on it, to be fair, and I think for him the hardest part is the fact that he's got this, he loves the club. He has done since he was a kid. He's played and played a part in games where we've won trophies, scored winning goals, scored at the Cop, done all the boyhood sort of, the childhood dreams for everyone, really, essentially. He's done all that stuff, and the nagging doubt for him will be that, I think. It makes all the sense in the world for him to go, as you pointed out. Like, he didn't really get on that much last year. When he does, he still contributes, PSG away, composure to slot. Absolutely incredible, but it makes sense for him to go and play. I think, like, it probably does Quansah as well, to be fair, but it makes sense for him to go and play. His stock won't be higher. I don't know why the final will go, but I imagine he'll have a massive say in whatever way that goes. For England point of view, you said he's miles. It's not even funny how far away and above he is the best player on the pitch that he's played in this summer. Everything about his touch, but that shouldn't be a surprise, really, when his day-to-day job is going and playing football with, like, the likes of Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk and Ali McAllister and stuff like that. It's what a privilege, but it's not just I've won this ticket in a raffle sort of thing. He's absolutely there because he deserves to be. He's good enough, and it is a massive decision that for him personally, but for us as a club as well. You don't want to be seen to be letting this one go, sort of thing. And in 4 or 5 years' time, who knows? The landscape might be like, why on earth did we sell him for £50 million to, what Brighton would make loads of sense. I think he'd suit them down to the ground. He'd flourish there. They play a sort of brand of football which is attacking and would centralise him. For them, would make loads of sense, but for him, as you say, if he can just stay, maybe, and convince that he gets like 15, 20 games, and will that be enough to then get more? You said there's an AFCON break. Can he get thrown in on the right? I don't know. I do like, if I knew him personally, my advice to him would just be, you've just really got to sit and think with it what is best for you, and that may be sticking. He's young enough to be able to stick around for another year and move on, yeah. But what happens? It's what if that you don't know the answers to, sort of thing. And the only one that you can, I think, certainly know is if you do move, you will be playing every week, and I think that may end up swinging it for him. I'd be sad because, he, as pointed out, he's a boyhood Liverpool fan, so he gets it, and he knows what it is to win, and he's only 21, 22, and he's made over 100 appearances for Liverpool. That is some level of player to be able to do that. So it's a decision that won't be taken lightly. I don't think there's someone on both parts.
Yeah, it is a little bit what's best for him, but also Liverpool will be thinking, well, we don't necessarily want to let you go before suits us either. Like Mike says, Abby, there's a lot of unknowns, but what we do know is he won't want another season like last one, where he's frustrated and it takes him God knows how long to get his first start in the Premier League. I think it's pretty much what it's done. It started coming in cup competitions and things like that, and that's the one thing he will know is that, well, I can't do another one of them, but maybe it won't be.
Well, he's come out, hasn't he, and said in an interview that it's a short career. And that's a massive thing, is if he really wants to have the career that he's probably always dreamt of. I'm sure in his mind he had it as at Liverpool, but it just doesn't seem to be the way that we're going to do things. I think he probably had more of a chance under Jurgen if Jurgen was still manager, for us to keep him and maybe use him at some point. But the dynamic of the whole club just feels as though there's been a shift over the last year. It feels like we've gone, right, maybe we will still develop players in a way, but this window, it just feels as though we've gone, we want already, proven players that are going to be good enough in those positions straight away to go again and try and retain that title. And the signing of Vert is obviously a massive one that's probably at detriment to Harvey. And, all of a sudden, all the midfielders are posting videos in the gym absolutely sweating because they're trying to make sure that they have some sort of place in the team. And I don't know, I even seen a tweet last night from someone saying they'd rather sell Szoboszlai than Harvey, which I don't agree with at all.
Don't think Arne Slot does either.
No, neither does Arne Slot. Slot obviously favours Szoboszlai, and I don't feel the same about that, but there's always going to be a debate there to be had. But I love Harvey, and I just wish that he got like a really good move. Whether that means that we will get something like 50 million for him, maybe the club throw one of those buyback clauses on. Not that we ever trigger those things, but like we've put on Quansah, maybe we put something like that on Harvey on the off chance that he ends up this this absolute amazing world-class player in the end, but he's got that potential there and you can see it in him. But I don't feel as though the way the club are doing things and the way Slot wants to do things is that he wants to take any sort of chance of trying to develop things straight away. It just feels as though to me in this next season, even if Harvey stays for one more year, those opportunities aren't going to be there for him that much. Even like Mike's just said, when Salah does go away to AFCON, I just feel as though he's just going to put Bradley right back and maybe throw Frimpong up there on the right wing. You know, it feels as though that's probably going to happen. And Harvey always felt as though to me that he wanted to be a right winger, and then there's Mo Salah, and then that doesn't work out, and then he's trying to find his place in that midfield, which he does really well in, but he's just not given those opportunities. And even Jürgen himself has said, I wish I give Harvey more game time, and that was a message he sent to Arne Slot, and Arne Slot's just gone, not for me really, to be honest, lad, he's great, but I'm going to be moving him on, and I'm building my own world-class team here straight away. First game of the season, all these players are going to be tried and proven, and they're going to win me that league and go again in the Champions League. And he's a perfectionist, Arne Slot. You can just tell he gets so frustrated by one defeat or anything. It just feels as though to me is that not that Harvey is a risk. Harvey's not a risk, but there's probably better, more proven players in our squad that he's going to go with, and I feel like he needs to make a move. And I really love Elliott, and he's one of those players that I do wish the best for, but I'm not like Josh in the way where I'd be like, if we got offered loads of money from Saudi Arabia or something, I'd be like, go on lads. I don't think I would. I think I want to see him do well in somewhere like the Premier League. I've seen, or even not the Premier League, I've seen like Leipzig are interested and other teams like that, so maybe, but I don't think Liverpool are the place for him, and if we can get 50 million for him, I think we've got to cash in now.
He is showing though, Josh, like his level at the moment, and like I said, I watched quite a bit of the game last night, largely for him, to watch him, and you know, you think some of the places that he's been linked with, I've seen like Wolves and stuff like that, and I'm just like, there's just no way he should be going there. Like, you know, obviously Wolves have had good players, I'm not saying they haven't, but you know, the idea of him, you know, fighting down the bottom of the league, just even to get game time, just seems crazy to me. Like, I think he's like, you know, a Champions League level player, and I think it's as much circumstance at Liverpool where he's not getting in, but we were the champions last season, and I wouldn't want to see him do like 2 or even 3 drops down from Liverpool's level. For me, if it's the tear down, you know, from the Reds, you know, is that, you know, Dortmund, you see Joe Bellingham going to Dortmund and playing well, he's a better player than him. Do you know what I mean? And so I think for me, if he does go, and I'd like to see him stay, but I think if he does go, and that's deemed to be the right thing for him and the club in terms of the fee, like I don't think it should be to a Premier League club who are likely to finish 12th to 17th, because I think that's a waste of his talent.
Yeah, I'm sort of dying with Harvey to know what his best position is really. Like,
yeah.
because that's almost when I can then decide where I think is best for him. Like Dortmund have just sold, they're about to sell Gibbons to Chelsea as well, aren't they? So maybe that's you know, the perfect fit. They obviously love having English lads in that team because of the success of people like Sancho and Jude Bellingham and stuff. So that could be a good direction for him. As Abby said, it's just sort of hard to see how he gets into this Liverpool team now, and you know, it is not for the want of quality for me. It's for the want of probably physical stature and for that more fixed position. I think you've seen at times this season that, you know, versatile players can work in Arne Slot's system. We're obviously going to go into next season with, you know, the likes of Florian Wirtz, who I think is a versatile player, but I don't necessarily know where he fits into this Liverpool side.
Mad 10 it is.
Yeah, mad 10 maybe, and maybe we're going to get to see more of that sort of mad 10 this season. But for whatever reason, Slot doesn't fancy Elliott as one of those mad 10s. He sort of mostly played him, it seems like, at right wing this season really, so he almost disagrees with the idea of what Klopp had, which was that he can be one of those sort of more advanced states into you know, Szoboszlai mad 10s. So I just struggle to see exactly where his best position is. He will find it somewhere. He will find a very good club. I was sort of always thinking, because he was obviously linked with Brighton in January. Brighton was the one where I was looking at and being like, he could genuinely go there and be one of their best players. And I think that would be a brilliant thing for him to have, to sort of boost his confidence again. He stays within England. He would have obviously, I mean, until Lallana announced he was retiring, he'd have been sort of around Lallana and James Milner. So Lallana did Southampton in the end, didn't he? So he'd still be around James Milner anyway. So that idea that there's a bit of a Liverpool connection there that remains for him would have been nice too. But I do hope he goes and gets a good move. I was almost being a bit sort of facetious with Abby before, saying that I'd drive him to Saudi if a big offer came in. I'm always going to want what's best for Liverpool ultimately. But he is a big Liverpool fan and stuff, isn't he? So it's a shame to see it end without him. And listen, he might look back on it and be like, I won Premier League trophies and things with Liverpool. That even if I went elsewhere and tried to sort of work my way to Liverpool, I probably wouldn't have done it at this stage in my career. So I think he can look back on his Liverpool career still say it's been a success. But obviously we didn't get to see the sort of full potential of Harvey Elliott, which will always feel like a bit of a shame.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see how it plays out over the next few weeks or so. But yeah, personally, we'll be sad to see him go, and I know that is a lot of the case for a lot of Liverpool supporters. But maybe he won't. We will see what happens. That's it for the Gutter this week. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope I've ably deputised for Mr. Rob Gutman, who I'm sure will be back next week just in time to sell a couple of players and see what's happening, and maybe a number 9 coming in, who knows. But huge thanks in the meantime to Mike, to Abby and to Josh, and also to Paddy for taking charge of all the video updates.